Well, hello, NorCal Sports Network. Boy, you watch a Giants game, you never know what you're going to see, but Dallas tonight was probably one of the most exciting wins of the year.
Unbelievable.
Yep. And as you
I
guys see,
could not believe that.
yep, Dan is still not with us, but me and Dallas are going to try to hold down the fort. But yeah, wow. Probably the most exciting win of the year. I'm sorry we were a couple of minutes late, but I wanted to watch the highlights because one of my brothers was in my seats and I wanted to make sure he didn't leave early. And he was there the whole time. And I think, Dallas, this is why you never leave a game until the final out. And I've been guilty leaving early, but this was so dramatic. And I think, to tell you the truth, what makes this ballpark so unique is, except for, I forgot who was the center fielder that hit the home run, inside the park home run to win against Colorado about 10 years ago.
Angel
Pagan. This was probably the best hit I've seen. And I think of Dan on this situation because, Bailey's one of his guys. And I know we've all been down on Bailey, but, Bailey batting left-handed, boy, that was a poke, and I thought it was going to be out. But, in this ballpark, you hit it to Triple's alley. It's almost defenseless, because what is that center fielder going to do? Once it got past him, I sort of had a feeling. And, wow. That game still affected me. This might have been the biggest win probably in the last 3 years, the more I think about it. Just the way it ended, inside the park home run. Most unlikely, with Bailey coming up, you're a little bit worried because Lee couldn't get the big hit. But, we'll just do a full recap. Dallas, what did you think of the game so I can take a 10-second break?
Oh, I thought it was great. I was worried going into the ninth inning. I didn't give them much of a shot because they had their shot in the eighth inning, and they had 2 on and couldn't get it done. And I thought, oh, man, now we got, Casey Schmidt and Lee and Bailey coming up. And I'm like, oh, Wilmer, right? And then Bailey. And I thought, well, not very likely. And then they get a couple guys on, and, Dan is always in favor of tearing down that wall. But occasionally that wall makes the game exciting, and it hit in the exact right spot, ricocheted over, and for Patrick Bailey, the catcher, to get it inside the park home run, walk off, that's going to be a highlight that we're going to be seeing for years to come. I mean, that's one of the special moments in the 20 years of that ballpark.
Yeah, it was dramatic, and I think you bring up a great point. In the eighth inning, they had a chance, and of course, they let us down. And, I was thinking, oh my God, we're going to have another negative show. Dan's going to say, like, can you guys do something so people show up? But, God, that's what makes this game, baseball, so special. You never know what you're going to see. And, as they say, when you go to a ball game, you might see something you've never seen ever. And that's sort of the love of the game. I didn't hear Dave Fleming's call. That must have been on the radio. It was sort of a shock because I was watching the TV broadcast and you didn't hear really anything because they were sort of in the shock mode. Like, is it a double, triple? And Kuiper at the end says, oh, I sort of forgot to do my call. But, it was special, and I think this could be something where, I've had my doubts about the Giants. I still think they need a little work, but this could be something where, they've won this series and, tomorrow, hopefully they could do the sweep and, they're getting, and again, I've said this all year, it's who you play and when you play. And right now the Dodgers are having problems. They've, I think, lost 5 straight. They're not scoring. Their bullpen is a complete disaster. But, who knows? The Giants, if they win tomorrow, get a little luck, and take 2 out of 3. I'm not going to say we're going to sweep the Dodgers, but boy, what a great way to go into the All-Star break, and this gives the fans and, NorCal Sport Network chat a lot more thrills. And, boy, this was really, really exciting to me. And, it's been sort of a tough year, but I'm really excited. Yeah, huge game.
It's a massive game because you got your co-ace on the hill.
Yep.
You're expecting to win this game. And if he doesn't get a win this game and you're in the 8th inning and it looks like you're going to lose the game, now tomorrow you got Verlander. That looks like a series loss,
Yeah, great point.
And then 1 inning later, they've won the series.
Yep.
And now tomorrow it's just icing on the cake. If
Yeah.
if Verlander can have a good outing, you're going to feel good about this series either way.
Yeah.
And
And
then
another
you
good
got one
crowd out
more.
there today. There was, I think, 34,000. It looked crowded. The place was rocking. And it just really turns out, they can win tomorrow. Boy, how big is this Dodger series going to be? And it's only, of course, it's only mid-season, but boy, it'll just make it really, really special Friday night. I see Robert, of course. Robert's come back in after a dramatic win. Good to see you, Robert. Great thing on the chat. Hey, guys, a couple things about the chat. I want to apologize last night for two things. First of all, of course, we're bought here by Chapman Law. Chapman Law, as we know, is our major sponsor. And after a dramatic win, I want to make sure and we have it up. Oh, good. 415-613-9483. We forgot to say that last night. So after a dramatic win, we want to say thank you, Chapman Law, for all their great help with the show. Again, we want to thank Dan for having me in Dallas fill in for him. Dan's doing a lot better. He actually called to make sure we were actually doing the show because Dan actually was cheering so loud he actually fell off the bed and thought we did the same. And most importantly is last night there was a chat. Someone sent a chat in for $2.99. I apologize. I didn't get to it. So my fault. So whoever did that last night, I apologize. But, let's go over the game tonight. Tonight, typical Giants, we go against Walker, who is – yeah, he is a starter, but he's been more of a bullpen guy, and his ERA hasn't been good. But, the one thing about the Giants, as we see, when they're not familiar with the pitcher, they make him look like Cy Young. And, it was one of those things. And, of course, we had Ray on our team, and Ray just didn't have it tonight. He didn't look like he was in a flow. You know what I mean? It seemed like he was having a tough time every inning to get through. And before you knew it, I think he had 65 pitches still in the third inning. So he wasn't going to last long.
And he got a little more economical as the game went on. He made it, through 6, I think, right?
Yep.
Which is not bad. You'll take that, but obviously it wasn't the complete game that he threw last time. But big difference. You can't expect that every time.
Yeah, and then of course the big Dominic Smith got the scoring started with a nice shot to left. I thought that was really nice. Oppo, which we keep talking about, to score. But then the Giants still had 2 runners on, couldn't get a big hit, so they led 1-0. That was in the second, and it was all that 1-0 until the 6th, when sort of a crazy inning. It was sort of slow, but then Ray just started having some control problems. You got to give Phil, because I think it all started with nobody on with 2 outs, if I remember right. And then
he was starting to show fatigue, and everyone was wondering, is Melvin going to pull him now? And he gave him that one more batter.
Yeah, sometimes that's the one thing I don't like about Melvin, because sometimes it's when you're watching the game, we're watching the same game as Melvin. You can see these guys don't have it. And he sometimes waits too long. The one thing I don't like is when it's in the 6th inning, me and Dan bring this up a lot, and you might hear it, is he already has the win if he has the lead going into the 5th, and he's leaking oil. I don't understand with our good bullpen, why do they always make him pitch too much in the 6th? I would have taken him out before, Kemp got the big double, but, Philly then tied.
Devil's advocate, though, say he takes him out there and brings in Bivens, and then Bivens gives up a hit, and he gets a no decision, and then he's going to be pissed because he's the veteran. It was his game to win or lose, and so Melvin gave him the shot. He gave up the lead, and you move on. So I don't have a huge problem with that. If he was a younger guy, if it was Birdsong or Roop, maybe you pull him, at that point. But I think Robbie Ray has earned the shot at being the director of his own destiny. So I didn't really have a problem with it.
Okay, but no problem. We all have different opinions. Hey, Rob has a super chat. Rob, good to see you. Hopefully a lot less blue in the crowd this time. I assume you're talking about this weekend when the Dodgers come, because as you guys remember last year, the whole entire left field bleachers, all the way to the 415, which is that center section, was all Dodger blue. The one thing about the Dodgers is where the Giants come and you might see a big crowd scattered, they buy all the tickets at once, like bulk, and you'll see they take over whole sections. So hopefully this weekend, we can see a lot of orange and black, Friday night, unlike last year. But good comment. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for bringing that up. And then let's get to the seventh inning, because again, Bivens, who's been pretty solid all year. But, I think what sort of got me upset is, again, 2 outs. It was an 0-2 pitch. And, you're going against a guy that can hit the ball anywhere. Is probably one of the best leadoff hitters, even though now they're batting him, third. But, Schreiber is a stud. And, he hit that ball on an 0-2 pitch, which sort of upset me. You got to waste one occasionally. And, before you know it, that seemed like the dagger. And, it was 3-1. And then, of course, we'll go to the eighth, where the Giants just seem to have so many chances, and
Schwarber is so good. Adames hit 2 to the wall. There were so many balls hit all the way that should have been a home run in many other ballparks. And no one could get it over the fence, but Schwarber got it over the fence.
Yep. But, that's the difference between Schwarber and, Adames right now. But hey, you got to give Schwarber credit. So, the Giants, and unfortunately in the top of the eighth, the bottom of the eighth, just couldn't come through to tie it. So that led us to the dramatic ninth. And, I think you got to give Schmidt unbelievable credit, because that was a line shot down the line to get the crowd into the game. And, that first batter of the ninth is such a key, Dallas, trying to get the rally going. And, he got that big hit. And then the one thing I don't like is, I don't know what Lee's trying to do. Is he trying to hit a 3-run homer? It seems like in these big situations, it's always like sort of a medium pop-up. You know what I mean? Where it was nothing, it wasn't going anywhere. But then, you got to give credit to who was up next. That was a line shot for the Giants was
Smith.
No.
Who Flores got the pinch hit?
Yeah, Flores pinch hit. Sorry, Flores. Boy, what a shot up the middle on that, huh? We'll get right to the super chat after. Boy, that almost took off the pitcher's face. It was a line shot. I thought Kuiper did a good thing, saying when you get a ball right there, you can actually smell the ball and part of the bat. So, that gave us a little life. And then, unfortunately, I don't have the call. We can't see the highlight. But that, gave us to Bailey. In case anyone missed it, Bailey hit a dramatic shot that literally, I guess, it was almost straight center field, just a little to the right of the brick wall. So maybe more right center. And then it hit very high off the wall. To tell you the truth, it might even have hit the silver barrier. It was sort of hard to see. And then it took a spin, another spin, got past the center. And then it was who's going to get the ball first, the center fielder of Philly, or is Bailey going to be able to get it inside the park? And before you knew it, the Giants, probably one of the most dramatic wins of the year, win it on an inside the park 3-run homer, which left, 40,000. It said, to me, I thought there was more like about 34 going home happy, and Philly's still stunned. I think this makes it Philly's now something like 4-16 at Oracle in the last 10 years. So the House of Horrors continues for Philly, and tomorrow we go for the sweep.
Pretty snake bit, yeah.
And that was one of those things, but very dramatic. So let's get to the super chat. Boy, I'm not even sure how to say this name. Dallas, how do you think?
Kalba Kaminga.
Okay, Kalba Kaminga. Hopefully we're in the thing. One hell of a finish. I finally have closure on Bob Denier's walk-off 3-run homer at the Vet. I don't remember that one. Was it dramatic? Were you there, Kalba, when that homer hit? I'm not even. Do you, Dallas? You know who Bob is?
No, but I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, Dallas will look it up. But Kalba, I'm glad you're finally over that. You have closure. So we'll see who Bob is. But hey, thank you for the $10. Dramatic. And I just want to tell you guys, so far, going to be we're gonna go over one other topic tonight, but great show, great vibe. This is why, guys, when you have a chance, donate the $20 for the squares, because you never know what's going to happen. You know, you could have been tonight could have been one of those Friday nights where you pick the winner. You put $20 down, your number gets picked for the donation for Haley, and one thing leads to another, and you could be there with 3 of your friends seeing something dramatic on a Friday night at Oracle. So don't forget, I know we're very short, but like I said, you know, I think when the Giants topic is Giants baseball, nothing like it. I think being at Oracle Park, there's nothing like it. So, you know, definitely think about that, guys. One other announcement tomorrow night, since it's a day game tomorrow, we're going to be doing, and we couldn't do Hot Corner on Sunday because Eric was actually at the Giants A's game with a couple guys, and Dan was out. We're going to be doing a special Hot Corner tomorrow night, guys, at 8:00. We're going to be talking about Wednesday's game, seeing if the Giants can bring out the brooms and get the sweep, and then get everyone fired up for the weekend series against the Dodgers. So, you know, it's going to be fun tomorrow night. So remember, tomorrow night, 8:00, not this late stuff, 9:30. Dallas, I assume, you know, I don't think Dan's going to do it. So he's almost there. So it might just be you, me, Glenn, and Eric. So I know you're more than welcome to join us if you can. If not, just watch it. But, you know, it's fun with those guys. You know, as you see, you have 4 complete knuckleheads, you know, trying to do the show, and, you know, you'll fit right in, and, you know, it'll be fun. So that's tomorrow night at 8. But, you know, we're just going through some of the chat. Yeah, guys, crazy stats.
So going back to Kalba's super chat, May 15th, 1989, down 2-0 in the bottom of the 12th, Bob Dernier hit a 3-run inside the park home run to give the Phillies a 3-2 win. So it's an exact situation, basically. So the Giants lost then, and now they have.
So was that against the Giants?
Yeah.
When that guy hit it. Okay, nice. See, you learn something new every night. That's awesome. You know, and then what was the one before this? Somebody talked about it was the first time a catcher hit inside the park since, was it 1928? Sorry, guys, we can't do it. Yeah, last time a catcher had a walk-off inside the park homer was 1926. So that's pretty unbelievable. Almost 100 years.
You remember where you were that day, Lou?
You know what? I wasn't even thought of back then. How about you, Dallas? Do you remember where you were? Were you on your radio? I guess only, since there was no TV back then.
In 26, I don't.
In 1926,
there wasn't much.
Yeah, but guys, you know, great win. You know what's fun about this show is, you know, it's no fun if, you know, we're always being, like, especially me, being negative. But boy, after a dramatic win, you know, it's fun to do a show like this, to see what people are thinking. You know, it's skaters. I wasn't there because my brother was there, and he was at the game. I even commented. I said, "Hey, I saw you on TV." And when the 9th inning hit, and they showed a drone shot where the drone showed the dugout going crazy. And like I said, our seats are to the right. He was there, and his guests were going crazy, jumping all over, which, of course, you know, if I was there, I'd probably be doing the same thing, like, hold me back, you know. But hey, you know, we'll see if we can get the sweep tomorrow. I think it will be pretty awesome if we can get the sweep, because this, like I said, it's who you play when you play. Dodgers right now, you know, Ohtani got a homer because they went up against the young stud for Milwaukee, and you know, he lasted 6 innings, but the Dodgers lost again. Their bullpen came in and got slaughtered. And, you know, I think one thing the Giants do have, as long as, you know, we have cracks here and there, but just everybody else who we are competing against, especially for the wild card, and, you know, and I'll say for the division, is their bullpens are just cracking. You know, Dallas, I don't know if you've seen that. A lot of these teams have, you know, good starters, but boy, once you get to the bullpen, it's a mystery. I mean, I saw the Yankees over the weekend. My God, against the Mets, every time they bought in a reliever, and not giving up like 2 runs on hits. I'm just saying, you know, Titanic tanks again. The Yankees against the Mets gave up 7 homers. Relievers gave up 7 homers. Imagine how you guys would be if the Giants got like that.
I thought the Giants had a pretty good shot tonight because they got the starter could only go. He went 50 pitches or 60 pitches, innings, which was about his max. And then by the 8th inning, they had that Robert guy in there who was pitching in the Texas League a couple of months ago.
Yeah,
the guy's nobody, and I thought they had a pretty good shot. But that's just the state of people's bullpens where they're having to pull guys out of anywhere.
And I thought
even the Giants are starting to have a little bit of injury problems. The Scott Alexander was in there today. We haven't seen him in a year, but they had to piece him in there because they don't have any lefty depth.
Yeah, and my man JC, as I call Johnny a lot, he brings up a good point. Our bullpen's set for tomorrow. Our 7th, 8th, and 9th were set. If it brings up to Verlander. Verlander it would be nice. Hey, why not get the sweep and get Verlander his first win of the year? But again, it's going to be one of those things. And I've been saying Verlander just does not have what would be the right definition. The put out pitch, he can't, he'll have 0-2 and instead of 94 miles an hour and striking him out, he'll do 92 and, it gets torched. So
I wouldn't be surprised if they made a move tonight, tomorrow morning. I don't know. It's kind of late tonight because it's a day game tomorrow, but it's a short drive. But with their 2 long men, Bivens and Beck, pitching today, your man Tristan Beck.
Yeah, he's back. He almost got injured again. Did you see that? He had that one hit lined off him, and he just came back from something like that.
Yeah, so they might need somebody else. I mean, they have their regular guys, but if Verlander can only go 3 innings tomorrow, that could put them in a pickle. So
good point.
I don't know if we see a move.
Okay, no, that's a great point. And then let's just see who are we going against tomorrow? I mean, obviously we know we have Verlander. Who's pitching for them? Leonardo. He's another lefty. So again, it's never easy for the Giants to get the sweep. Lefty. Yeah, and he pitched against the Giants. Pitched 5 1/3 in Philly, gave up 5 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. So, hey, it's not as bad as it used to be. It seemed like it didn't matter who the lefty was. It was a mystery with us. But, let's
a little better.
Yeah, so. A little bit better. But hey, at least, we have hope where before we really didn't. But let's just go over the highlights. Dallas, I'm going to since you're our guest, why don't you pick your 3 stars of the game? Take your time. Just look over the offense. You tell me who you think is the biggest star of the game, number 2, number 3. And if you have somebody on the other side, I always pick somebody else if, you don't have 3. But why don't you give me the top 3 stars as the Giants win a dramatic 4-3 win?
You can't pick a star without picking Bailey. So that's just a no-brainer. This is going to be the game of his career that will define him. So that's number 1. Mm-hmm. Number 2, I'll go Robbie Ray. 5 2/3. He didn't have the great stuff that he had his last time. Maybe a little fatigued from going 9 last time, but he gave him a chance to win. Kept the game within reach, and so we'll go Ray, and then let's go in honor of Dan. We'll go Casey Schmidt, number 3. Got the hit to lead off the 9th inning. Played a nice, clean second base. Gave some good at bats throughout the game. So I'll take Schmidt.
All right, I like it. Yeah, obviously Bailey's got to be the number 1 star of the night. I mean, with a dramatic 3-run homer. I thought what was nice is it made us the winning hit made us 3 for 10 runners in scoring position. So that's key. The other thing is, remember, I can't believe Ryan Walker got the win tonight. He came in for the one batter.
He threw 1 pitch.
Yeah, and he gets the win. That's why sometimes stats don't really tell you the true story.
And Skaters on Baseball has given one of his stars to Walker for that 1 pitch.
Yep.
So that's, hey, my expectations were considerably lower than what happened in
I
that
got it.
situation.
I'm going to give, I think Casey's my number 2, because without Casey's hit get going, and, Casey had a tough night, with 2 strikeouts. He didn't look like he could see the slider, and, he comes back when the game was on the line. And again, this is something that we bring up, with Chapman. He, has been hot, but that's what we need Chapman to do when he comes up in a crucial situation. Someone like Lee in this 8th or 9th inning where the game's on the line. That's why Dan and me sometimes are such up against Chapman. When it's on the line and you're the highest paid player, 9 out of 10 times you should come through, not 1 out of 10 times. 9 times fail. But I thought, that was good. And then, I'm going to give Dominic Smith, who started got the big hit, with 2 outs. And, a lot of times with the Giants, we get upset where they get so many chances. But, hey, you put the ball in play, got the hit, and, that scored. So those are going to be my 3. So
yeah, that first run counts. That's a big one.
Yep, big one, because
you
it
had
gets us
that
on the
early
board.
You had the early lead for most of the game, and it kind of gives you, it sets the tone. So that's a big one.
Yeah, and guys, we got a pretty good group on there. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe. A couple of guys are asking how Dan's doing. He's doing a lot better. I think Dan, I'd probably say Friday or Saturday, he'll definitely be back. He's just taking care of him stuff. Also, on his medication, his voice isn't as strong. And, when you do this show, Dallas has a voice for radio. He's got those tones. It's easy for him. But like for me or Dan, without our voice, we're sort of useless. So, Dan wants to be here 100%. So he's going to probably be here, I'd say maybe Friday, Saturday, definitely the hot corner on Sunday. Again, we're doing a special hot corner tomorrow on Wednesday. Producer Ryan says, shout out to Chapman Law Group, APC. I'm not sure what APC means. Dallas, do you know what he means on that? We did mention Chapman Law, and we gave the phone number.
Yeah. So if you're ever in a personal injury situation, don't settle with the insurance company. You're just leaving money on the table.
I got it. Sorry, I forgot about that part. I've only heard it 1,000 times.
Yeah. So tell them that Dan sent you.
Tell him Dan sent you.
Sports Network.
Yep, perfect. And on a night like this, it's the summer. There'd be nothing better than bake that dough cookies. So I haven't seen Aaron because we haven't really had the show. I didn't see him last night. But Aaron, we're thinking of you. Love your cookies. Remember, guys, if you go to bake, what is it? Cookies, bake that dough. Aaron will give you 20% off your first order. So please, help him out. And
Bake That Dough said he was going to be here later. So
okay. So here it is. Aaron's here. There it is, Aaron. I was going to say, after a big win like this, there's nothing better than your cookies. So bake that dough. Aaron will help you out. You get 20% off your first order. I've got my order. I got to go back on and talk to him and get another order. Very simple. And I think what's really nice is it's not like the normal cookies. It's just different, very healthy, very unique, child-proof. So you actually have to work on to open it up. But very delicious. So, Aaron, we're thinking of you, and it's great to do that. All right, guys. So, hey, we went over the game, but, we're going to probably talk about 10 more minutes. But something came up today, and I spoke to Dallas about it. And I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but there's been sort of 3 different stories that have gone around about our star acquisition, Mr. Devers. And I don't know if anyone heard or has heard this story. And I'll just sort of tell you what I heard, the 2 versions, and then me and Dallas can talk about it. And if anybody, wants to talk about it in the chat, we just thought it'd be something a little bit different topic. So I was listening to my Sirius radio, and Mad Dog Radio from 5 to 8 has VILSI, which is a betting program. And they bought up exactly what Will Clark said today. And I don't know if anybody heard about it, but Will Clark said that he basically offered his time, and he came down to Oracle Park when Devers was traded, and he basically told Devers, I will be at the ballpark at 10 o'clock. Let's work at first base. Devers did not show up. So somehow, Will, being the classy guy, said, hey, I guess there was transportation. Let's do it tomorrow. Devers agreed. Will Clark was there. No show again. So Will said, what the hell is this? It's not like he lives in San Francisco. He made a special trip, to basically welcome to the Giants, be part of the family. The third time he came, Devers was a no-show again. So basically on his talk show, he says, next time I'm there and I see Devers, I will throw him to make sure he knows where first base is. Because, first of all, Will Clark is a classy guy. He was trying to help out. Devers did a no-show, never called him, never apologized, never even showed up, which is, sort of bullshit in my mind, because Will has earned that right. He's probably one of the best, probably behind JT Snow. JT Snow was a little bit better defensively, but still a great Giant. And Devers just didn't show up, and he thought it was bullshit. It's like, what the hell's going on? And, the guys on the radio said, well, hey, this could be a problem. This is what Boston said. Maybe it's his attitude. And if you guys remember, when Devers came on the press conference, he says, I am here. I will play any position for the Giants. It doesn't matter. I want to win. Okay, so that's one version. Tonight on NBC Sports Bay Area, they talked about it. And they claimed Devers didn't want to do it because Boston was in town. And I went like, what? First of all, who cares if Boston's in town?
He did take grounders at first base. He did practice first base when the Guardians were in town the previous series. And then when the Red Sox were in town, he didn't want to go out there and play first base in front of the Red Sox because that would be like, supposedly
rubbing it in, everything.
Salt in the wound. I wouldn't play first base for you, but look at me now.
Yeah. So again, this was like 10 o'clock in the morning. So I don't even think Boston even was probably going to be on the field until probably 2, 3 o'clock. So I'm just saying, it's sort of amazing when you watch the Giants pregame show. They made it, it was just strictly because Boston wasn't there. And when you listen to a cable show on TV, on radio, where they told a completely different story. So I just think it's something where, I don't know. I don't say he didn't want to, JC didn't want to disrespect anyone. It was 4 hours before Boston was going to be there. Will Clark made an appointment to help him out, told him he was going to be there, and he no-showed. So I think it's BS, and if I was Will Clark, I would never offer my services again. After you get shut down 3 straight times, that's it, and it's just one of those things where, I want Devers to work out. He's probably our first superstar since we had his Bonds. But when you hear stories like this, and, you go back to Boston and said there were problems, I'm just a little bit worried when stuff like this happens. Now, maybe Will Clark was having a bad day. Maybe, he never got his apology, and Will Clark on his, unfiltered show, he says whatever he wants. But, it's now out, and it's sort of a distraction. And, Devers today was 0 for 2.
It didn't sound to me that Will Clark was mad about it too much. He just, told the story, but he was joking about it a little bit at the end where he's like, I'll just drag him out of the dugout next time. But I did find it interesting that it was Dave Fleming's brother, Will Fleming, that was on with the Red Sox media and was talking about this story and saying like, we'll see how long this lasts with the Giants. He was kind of towing the Red Sox company line, because they're all a little pissed off about Devers and having to trade him and the way that whole thing went down. So there's the Red Sox company line, which is basically trashing Devers, and you've got Big Poppy on that bandwagon, and all the Red Sox media and the fans, and they're all down on Devers.
Great point.
You got the Giants media taking the opposite side. Welcome him in. He'll do whatever they want. They'll play first base, whatever. And the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. But, you're going to get both sides of it because it's polarized media.
Yeah, I thought, I keep forgetting that his brother does the broadcasting, because they each did the middle game. They each did, the other one walked into the other studio. So I don't know if you saw it. So the Fleming brothers did 3 innings together on the Giant station, and then they did 3 innings together on the Red Sox station when they were out here. Right. So, pretty cool to have 2 brothers in the same business, one on an East Coast team, one on a West. So I sort of like that. But hey, guys, let's do this before we get out of here. Dan checked in, guys. So see, he's here. He says he backs Devers on this. So he said he was, I don't know if you see Dan's thing. I back Devers on this. Yeah, there you go. Thanks. He is shy, inverted, and said he was afraid to talk to Bonds. Devers just moved and was suddenly traded. There could have been a miscommunication. Also, I'm not. Will Clark should not be sharing this. Yeah, this is probably something that should have been left, but you know what? It did make it. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. It's something. Hey, we talk Giants baseball, positive and negative, but that's just how it is. But hey, let's just look at
that. Will Clark got some extra views on his YouTube show. I guarantee that it moved the needle over there, and he does that quite a bit. You'll hear him say some things that are maybe a little out of the mainstream, and that's Will Clark being Will Clark. That's just how he is.
Okay, no problem. I agree. So let's go to the standings because we don't have Dan's hats, obviously, but the Giants are now, in second place, 5 games back of the Dodgers, 51-43, 9 games over 500, which is nice to see. Right now the Giants just need to win 36 games and 35 more games. And Dan's quote for the beginning of the season, 86 wins will come true. So Dan, we're thinking you on that. They lead, and then the Padres beat Arizona tonight, so they're 6 games back, and then of course Arizona's 10.5. And again, it's sort of crazy what happens in a week. We do a show and we're sort of down, but look at the wild card now. Giants are the 3rd place team. Thank you. So they're the 3rd place team, guys. If the season ended right now, we would be in the playoffs. We're 1 game back of Milwaukee. And this is big. The one thing, too, is we're not really talking about is taking the first 2 games over Philly. We pick up 2 games on them almost, instead of 4.5 back of them. Now, we're only 2.5. So it's big on these, head-to-head games. So, we do that. And then Dallas, again, just one more thing. What do you think of the game tonight? And are you looking forward to tomorrow's day game?
I am, just because the pressure's off now. I think if they had lost tonight, you go in tomorrow thinking you got to get a win. Now you can kind of relax and go play your game tomorrow. And I think that's even helpful for Verlander. He doesn't have to feel like he has to be perfect. He's got to go out there and pitch and give his team a chance to win. They could sweep the Phillies. Can you believe that? After getting swept by the Marlins and
2 out of 3 against the White Sox.
Yeah, after losing to these crap teams, now that they face some actual good competition, maybe they're on the schneid a little bit, but they're a good team, and it could easily have gone the other way tonight. So you take the win, and you move on tomorrow and try to get another one, and hopefully,
it'd be nice to get a sweep. I can't remember the last sweep we had at home. The more I think about it,
they do a lot of losing the first game.
Yeah, we had that streak, and then I think. The one thing, too, about the Giants is, we play tomorrow, off on Thursday, big weekend series where it'd be nice to get the sweep because it just going into the Dodgers where they're not playing well right now. We really have a chance to, really take the series. And, who knows? I mean, how great would it be to go 8 straight wins into this All-Star break? The last 2 against the A's, somehow, win tomorrow. That'd be, the sweep, and then somehow take care of the Dodgers. Hey, Dodgers are right now really suffering. They don't really have any starting pitching. I know tomorrow, Tyler is coming back for them, but, right now they're struggling. Their bullpen struggling. So we're hitting them at the right time. And, hopefully the ballpark should be rocking. I saw earlier today, Friday night sold out. Saturday, there are a couple hundred tickets, and Sunday's completely sold out. Obviously, it's because of the great giveaways. Not that the Dodgers are in town. And I know Dan is sort of upset because I think it's Saturday night. They're giving away the bobblehead, Barry Bonds. So that's, is another highlight. They're doing that on Sunday. They're giving away, it looks like a fold-up shirt with Jung Lee, or I think it might be the and I think they're going to wear a City Connect, too. I thought I read on Friday night. A special Friday night City Connect. So, it should be rocking. But hey, guys,
So
you
those
know, we
City
really
Connects
appreciate
are
you
now
guys.
going to be forever memorialized in highlight reels.
Yep. And then, hey, guys, most importantly, thank you for being here. Remember, hit like and subscribe. And then tomorrow night, special hot corner. We're going to go over everything. We're going to go over a little feature on the squares because something's going to happen this weekend that we'll go over regarding the squares. We're going to feature, you know, a post-game show of tomorrow, hopefully a big W and a big sweep. And, of course, we're going to get excited for the big 3-game series against the Dodgers when the Big Blue Nation shows up here. But hey, we really want to thank you. I want to thank Dallas again. It's a lot easier 2 times, you know, with us just being thrown on it. But chat, we really appreciate you guys making us feel really welcomed here. You know, you make it really easy with me and Dallas being here. And I'm not sure if Dan's going to be here. I'd say probably more Friday. If Dan can't make it, of course, you know, Dallas is going to film tomorrow on the hot corner, special hot corner tomorrow again, 8 o'clock with Eric and Glenn. And we'll just go from there, guys. Again, hit your like and subscribe. And thank you for everything, guys. Off a Big Giants dramatic inside the park 3-run homer as the Giants walk it off 4-3. See you guys tomorrow night.